Hello everybody, my name is Clark. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. The introduction is actually on page 2, so I'm going to do it again. But in the past I struggled with an addiction to alcohol and prescription drugs. Through the healing power of Jesus Christ and the program of Celebrate Recovery, I have been free from those obsessions since June of 2010. Before I get into my... Thank you. Give him some praise, man. Before I get into my testimony, I do want to read something that I ran across right before my last testimony, Psalm 32, that I think really speaks to us in Celebrate Recovery. Oh, what a joy for those whose disobedience is forgiven, whose sin is put out of sight. Yes, what joy for those whose record the Lord has cleared of guilt, whose lives are lived in complete honesty. When I refused to confess my sins, my body wasted away and I groaned all day long. Day and night, your hand of discipline was heavy on me. My strength evaporated like water in the summer heat. Finally, I confessed all my sins to you and stopped trying to hide my guilt. And I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord, and you forgave me. All my guilt is gone. Amen. Therefore, let all the godly pray to you while there's still time, that they may not drown in the floodwaters of judgment. For you are my hiding place. You protect me from trouble. You surround me with songs of victory. The Lord says, I will guide you along the best pathway for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. Do not be like a senseless horse or mule that needs a bit and bridle to keep it under control. Many sorrows come to the wicked, but unfailing love surrounds those who trust the Lord. So rejoice in the Lord and be glad, all you obey him. Shout for joy, all you whose hearts are pure. Amen. That's right out of Psalms. It's been in that book for over 2,000 years. Really spoke to me. Anyway, like I said, my name's Clark, and I'm here to tell you my story. Anyway, it's my testimony. However, I want to emphasize it's not about me. It's about what God has done and is doing in my life through me, a broken person who loves Jesus. I simply cannot stay silent about what God has done. Tonight I'll share with you how I messed up my life, how God's rebuilding it, and how it continues to improve. My childhood was normal, though my family was what some would call dysfunctional. From the time I was 5 years old, I knew my parents were going to get a divorce, but they stayed together just for us. They slept in separate bedrooms and took separate vacations, and the only activity we did as a family was to celebrate Christmas. While Mom was gone 5 nights a week singing in nightclubs, my sister and I were raised by babysitters. We were allowed to do anything we wanted as long as we didn't hide it. So by 14, I was smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, and using pot. I was overweight and not good at sports, so my self-esteem was very poor. My popularity was connected to my consistent access to alcohol and pot. I started working in the restaurant business at 15 because both were available there and everyone liked to party. I thought that's what life was all about. In spite of this rocky start, I led a fairly successful life up to age 50. I graduated from college in 1980, worked in the hotel restaurant business for 30 years. I was a homeowner, a husband, and a father of 3 amazing children. In 1996, my wife and I purchased the Carson House restaurant in Pittsburg, Texas. Over the next 15 years, we made that business successful. Between the exposure from the restaurant, staying active in the community, and being a board member on the Chamber of Commerce, I knew a lot of people in camp in the surrounding counties. I was not aware of this, but they knew about my problem with alcohol long before I did. These associations would play an important part in my decision to stay in Pittsburgh for my recovery. From the time I turned 14 until I was 50, there wasn't a single day I didn't drink. Every activity included it, and fun required it, or so I thought. In 2000, I added a prescription mood-altering drug at the recommendation of my doctor to relieve stress. Our business was always difficult to run, and the combination of alcohol and stress, or meds, seemed to make life easier. A local chicken company comprised the major portion of our revenues at our business. When they began to have financial problems in 2007, this caused added stress on me, our business, and my wife, who was employed by them. She and I chose to increase our use of alcohol to get through the days, instead of facing our challenges head on. This created a whole new set of problems for both of us. One day, I decided that a drink in the morning to calm my nerves was a good idea. It didn't take long for me to begin drinking all day long, every day. I went from a functioning alcoholic who never drank at work or when driving to a full-fledged non-functioning drunk. When Pilgrim's Pride filed for bankruptcy and we lost 80% of our revenues, my business was in serious trouble. So I did what any good alcoholic would do. I ran from my troubles and I numbed the pain with alcohol. One morning in September of 2008, my wife had seen enough. Unable to even complete my duties at the business, she sent me to a rehab facility for 7 days in Shreveport. I felt absolutely horrible as I went through medically supervised stages of detox. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I thought I might not make it through this process alive. No matter what, I told myself, if I survive this experience, I'll never touch a drop of alcohol again. Right. After rehab, a couple weeks of mandated outpatient classes which I attended, that along with the 90 meetings and 90 days for Alcoholics Anonymous, lots of study, lectures, support from my family, and 16 weeks of outpatient weekly therapy, I began to live life without alcohol. For the first time in over 30 years, there was no alcohol or drugs in my system. So therefore, I should have been back to normal, but I wasn't. Something wasn't right. Living life was a struggle, maybe worse without alcohol because I couldn't numb the pain. I became aware that I wasn't healed. My mind was still a fog and there was an absence of normal human emotion like happiness, laughter, love, joy, and passion. Today I know the reason why it wasn't working. I had not involved God in my recovery, only something called a higher power. At the time, however, I just knew sobriety was not working for me. Every moment, every task was a chore. The craving for alcohol was still there. In January, at around 100 days sober, I started drinking again, and within days, right back where I started. My family tried to stop me, but I liked how I felt when I drank. I thought I was hiding it and fooling everyone, but I was only fooling myself. My drinking continued to get worse, and my life was out of control. Following September, I was driving home from my restaurant at 7:40 in the morning. I passed out and totaled my truck by running into the back end of an 18-wheeler, and he was coming towards me. If I'd passed out a split second earlier, it would have been a head-on collision. I probably wouldn't be here right now. Blood alcohol content was measured at a 0.37, not 0.37, 0.37, 4.5 times the legal limit. Cardiac arrest and death by alcohol poisoning usually occurs at 0.4. It was that close. But by the grace of God, I didn't injure myself or anyone else. Today I believe, I know that God had an angel watching over me that morning. I didn't realize it at the time, but God had a plan for me. Jeremiah 29:11 states, "For I knew the plans I had for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." I now know that I had a future. Another round of rehab followed, this time for 30 days. The entire time I was there, all I could think about was getting home so I could drink again, and when I got home, that's exactly what I did. In February 2010, my wife left me, moving out of state. She'd had enough. She fought a valiant battle, but my alcoholism had defeated her. She knew after she left I was still drinking because my 15-year-old son kept her in the loop. He was living with me. She told me in a phone call one night, "If you drink one more time, I'm serving you with divorce papers." I don't ever remember considering stopping. See, nothing mattered to me anymore except my drinking. Alcohol had become my God. I was about to lose everything I'd worked for my whole life. My kids, my wife, my home, my business, even my life, and I didn't care. I was in the death grip of addiction and no longer wished to live. Suicide was an option that I had considered. I had come to the point where I hated life and everything in it. I simply could not function. I had no passion, no love, nothing. Alcohol had robbed me of everything, and it was the only thing I lived for. In May of that same year, my son returned home to find me convulsing on the kitchen floor due to alcohol withdrawals. He called 911. I was taken to the ER. My condition was critical. I was transferred to the intensive care unit in Tyler, where I spent 10 days in a medically induced coma necessary to stop the seizures. The doctors told my family I may not live. When I woke, I was on dialysis, a feeding tube, and a ventilator. I had no idea where I was or how I'd gotten there. They explained to me that I had come close to death. As I recovered physically, I began to realize a change had taken place. My mind was clear, and my physical body came back to life, showing no signs of the alcohol abuse. When in the hospital, laid out on my back, there was only one way to look, and that was up. I had several conversations with God about what had happened, and I made several promises about how I was going to change. 23rd Psalm states, "The Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures." I realized months later during a conversation with my old AA sponsor that God did make me lay down in that hospital bed. He led me to still waters, which was my induced coma, so he could biblically restore me. Biblical restoration means God would not just restore me to where I was previously, but to a much better place. In that hospital bed is where my spiritual awakening occurred. One of these days I'll get through this without getting emotional. Maybe not. Allow me to pause for just a moment to point out here a very important realization I have come to believe. And please don't miss this. God didn't have to save me. He chose to. He had a reason and a plan. My being here today had absolutely nothing to do with anything I've done. It's all God's amazing grace. I left the hospital June 1st of 2010 and was again free to choose a life of alcohol and drugs. The amazing thing is I had no desire or craving to do so. A miracle had occurred. My mind was clear, my body was coming back to life, and my craving had been removed. God did for me what I had proven many times I could not do for myself. It was all Him. I was determined not to mess up this chance He had given me. I'd be grateful, humble, and through prayer, attempt to determine His will for the rest of my life. What now was to be my purpose in life? All I knew is that I couldn't do it on my own. Celebrate Recovery Step 1 tells us we admitted we were powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors, that our lives had become unmanageable. I was there, finally. Psalm 37:4 told me to delight myself in the Lord, and He will give me the desires of my heart. And Romans 12:2 told me, don't conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is. This was the new godly direction I needed, and I began attending Emmanuel Baptist Church with my son. Here my relationship with Jesus began. The second step and principle in CR tell the story of what happened next. Step 2 is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And principle 2 states that I earnestly believe God exists, that I matter to Him, and He has the power to help me recover. I began to believe maybe I did matter. God showed up. I realized He was there all along, letting me do my thing. It was me that had gone astray. What I learned in Emmanuel floored me. I was taught this following passage in Romans 10:9. If I confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord, and I believe in my heart that God raised Him from the dead, I will be saved. For it's by His grace alone and not my works that I have received salvation. Nothing I can do can cause Jesus to love me any more or any less. This was a welcome change to my previous church with their man-made checklist and rules, which taught that through my works I could gain entrance to heaven, or prevent it. I now realize I was a sinner, that God saved me by His grace, and He's the one true King, and nothing I do will make Him love me any more or less. Became active in the church, began to establish my relationship with Jesus. A few months later, a friend invited me to become a part of a new ministry called Celebrate Recovery. I realized this was God's planning and the answer to why I didn't die. Ephesians 2:10 states, "We're God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do good things He planned for us long ago." I developed a passion for Celebrate Recovery, and as we took the training steps necessary to begin this ministry in 2013 at Emmanuel, I thought I'd finally decided to let go and let God. As step 3 states, we made a decision to turn our lives and our will over to the care of God. Little did I know my journey had more curves. In February at a Tony Evans conference, during the invitation, I realized, in fact, I wasn't saved. I believed in Jesus, but I'd never accepted Him fully, never surrendered my life to Him, never asked Him into my heart. I did all those things that day, and I was baptized a couple of weeks later at Emmanuel. I've learned a few things in my new sober life. Being a Christian doesn't mean life is perfect. Being clean and sober doesn't mean that I won't face struggles. I've attempted to take back control of my life from God several times. Turning my life over to Jesus was easy, but turning my will over Him needs to be addressed on a daily basis. For I constantly attempt to take back control. My addiction to alcohol and prescription medication has been replaced with several issues, including food, sex, relationships, nicotine, and people-pleasing, to name a few. I struggle with these things as much as I used to struggle with chemical addiction. It is comforting to read in my Bible in 1 Corinthians 10:13 that no temptation has seized me except what is common to man. God is faithful. He won't let me be tempted beyond what I can bear, and when I am tempted, He will provide a way out. When the enemy strikes, I remember that greater is He that is in me than who's in the world. I wish I could report to you that those words have solved everything. However, it's not the truth. God is still working on me. Some trials have been greater than others. I had to quit work in the end of 2013 to have surgery on my neck. When I was released to go back to work, God told me, "Don't go back. It's not a good place for you." He had something better for me. This created huge expectations of a career helping others who struggled as I once did. My faith has been challenged several times when jobs didn't materialize, and I asked Him, "Why, God? Why am I struggling like this? Why have You not answered my prayers?" Philippians 4:6 tells me, "Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your petitions to God." I've learned that God was humbling me, making me a better person, ready and able to do His work. I strive to live up to the evidence presented in Galatians 5:22. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness. However, the worldly distractions keep me from doing what I know is right. Today I'm a substitute teacher. I make outside sales calls for a glass company, and I deliver pizzas on the weekend. It's not quite the career path I had envisioned, but it does pay the bills, and it allows me to do my ministry work at the church. It's clear to me God knows what He's doing. I must admit my life is richer now than it's ever been. When I was in charge, I had no peace and many idols. With God in charge, I have food, shelter, faith, and more friends than I've ever had. I believe I'm a gentler, kinder, and more godly man today than at any point in my life. I'm a team leader with CR, which is making a difference in lives, both mine and others. Also successfully co-launched another ministry called Authentic Manhood Challenge, modeled after Jesus' 33 years on this earth, and that series is changing lives as well. I was able recently to work with the stewardship team and, leaning on my restaurant experience, set up some processes that are helping the church financially. God's allowed me to assist a couple people get back on their feet after spending time in jail, and many other people through Celebrate Recovery. I believe I'm a better friend, son, brother, and father than I ever could have imagined. You see, I believe God has me exactly where He wants me. Though I fall short of perfection, He blesses me daily with opportunities to glorify Him. It's possible that one of you here tonight needs to hear what I've gone through. You may be tonight where I was in my darkest days, feeling lost, abandoned, unloved, worthless, hopeless, and depressed. I challenge you to consider this. There is hope and there is a better life. You are loved by Jesus Christ, and He wants to have a relationship with you to heal you. I am living proof that God will work in your life if you let Him. I want to apologize if this sounds like I'm bragging. Please don't be confused about this. I'm humbled, and I don't take any credit for what's happened. I am shouting praises to my Lord Jesus Christ, who's using me, a poor broken sinner, for His will. Please believe me when I say I know this. It was and is God working through me who made all of this happen, and all the glory and all the credit goes to Him. Romans 8:28 says, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. I prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that I don't have the capability to do my own life well. But my God, my Jesus, gets all the glory. He's given me the peace of God which transcends all understanding, which guards my heart and my mind in Christ Jesus. Never experienced anything like Celebrate Recovery. This is a messy yet amazing ministry that's reaching out to both the churched and the unchurched people who are hurting, and it's changing lives. Those of us in CR are living our lives through the Beatitudes the way Jesus taught us to in the first place. Using this ministry, God's releasing prisoners of hurts, habits, and hang-ups who've been bound by the lies of the enemy. Every day I see evidence of God's amazing healing powers and people released from the bondage of their past. Lives are being restored. An interesting fact to note, not all of those who are in here are like me with chemical issues. In fact, 2/3 of the people who come to Celebrate Recovery come for reasons other than chemical addiction. In my opinion, there's two kinds of people in this world. Those who are working on their hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And then there's the rest of the world who's in denial or oblivious. That should be working on them. I'm honored and humbled to be a part of this forever family. I love what God's done and continues to do in my life. I praise Him in advance, for I know He will continue to do good work in my life and the lives of the people around me. I conclude this testimony by offering praise to my great healer, Jesus Christ, and a thank you for letting me share.